Good afternoon, Karen. Hi, it's Mary Chase. I see Susan's face. But picture photo.
Getting stuff done. It can wait.
I know. I always feel as if I've got to tune in a little early just in case I somehow can't find the join.
Oh, always. Yeah, always. And figuring out lighting. Yeah, I think I'm still figuring out the lighting. Does my lighting look okay?
Yours is great. Absolutely great.
Okay.
Depending upon the day, mine seems to be worse or better, or depending upon where I am. I think I figured it out on this one, but
yeah. Did you add extra? Like I have 2 extra lamps that I added.
Yes, I have a lamp,
too, right?
A lamp right here, plus the overhead lights. So it's
right.
Good morning.
Hey, Susan, how are you?
I'm fine. How are you?
I'm good.
Ready for a big storm?
Yeah, we're supposed to get some rain, right?
We're supposed to get a lot of wind, a gale, actually.
what I was
Oh, we
heard.
are?
This afternoon and tomorrow, into tomorrow.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
This is the storm that was down south that created all those tornadoes, and I think this is.
Oh, this is it?
Well, that was my impression. Now, I sometimes they get so wound up, the weather forecasters, in explaining themselves that I think, do I need to know all of that? But in any event, that's where I think the wind is coming from.
Wow, I did read about what a terrible storm it was. I didn't realize it was the same one.
Well, maybe that's wrong.
And it's south wind and it's new moon. So it's going to be a high tide and really strong winds. And we're really nervous about losing our shoreline.
Yes, I'm sure you are. Yeah.
You're lucky, Mary. You've got a bike path and a bunch of stones, big rocks between you and a lighthouse between you and the,
That's it.
the water. By the way, this is being recorded. I whoever set this up, I think it was Dixie, apparently turned the recording on, and I can see a little sign saying that it's being recorded.
Yes. Oh yes. Well, that's good to know.
Yeah. John Marion started his Rhode Island Voting Access Coalition meeting the other day, and he had a panel that was going to be speaking, and he was passing the time with them ahead of time before everybody got there and talking about her child's French lessons and so on. He didn't realize it. So I sent him a little chat and said, hey, do you realize? And then he very carefully warned everybody who got on.
That's funny.
Well, that was certainly a safer subject that could have been discussed.
That's true.
Karen, you down at Kettle Point? Is that?
I'm in Kettle Point. Yes.
Okay. How do you get along with the metal recycling across the river from you?
I don't hear it. So, because I'm like, it's a horseshoe, and I'm on the other. I'm like almost as far away as you can get from the orthopedic center.
Yeah.
So up my way, I don't hear it. But the people, like I have a view of Squantum Pond.
Okay.
But the people that are like along the river with the magnificent views, they unfortunately hear it.
Mm. Yeah, well, I hear it down here, and I'm a mile away.
Really?
Yeah. So we were just assuming that everybody who was down at Kettle Point would be affected by this, but they may have also put in, soundproofing that helped.
They didn't. The last meeting we had, it does violate noise ordinances, and apparently you can call the police and they'll go over and arrest.
Jill is joining us shortly. I had to resend her the link, so she should be on any minute now.
Okay, great.
Good
Hello.
morning. Hello, how are you?
Hi there, Jill.
I, I had to ask Dixie to send me the Zoom link again. I don't know what I did with it, but I couldn't find it.
I think there's something in the air that it, absorbs these join links because right.
The emails.
I know. So bad. Well, good to see you all. I did reach out to Carolyn and Maureen. Carolyn says she'll be here. Maureen, I sent an email and left her a voice message, and I didn't get anything back. So I don't know.
Oh, dear.
Texted me.
Susan, that really is a great background.
Yes, Carolyn just texted
Yes.
me.
I think so too. I would like to have it installed.
Exactly.
Somebody care for it.
You think your little, Mary, you think your little garden helper could put that up for me?
I don't think she's into construction.
Is this Marion Stiles
Yes.
McClintock?
Am I on the right track?
Great.
Oh, that's great. Marion, we haven't seen you in a while.
No, this is not the meeting for today, right?
You're welcome to join.
It's the membership
you
and outreach
invited.
meeting, Marion, that we talked about on Wednesday night.
Yeah.
Welcome.
Okay. Well, thank you.
We're talking about ways to reach out to the communities,
Oh,
among other
Okay.
things.
okay.
Marion, did you wrestle up all those wonderful women that came to Dixie's PPFM meeting?
Yes, they are my sorority. group.
That's why I said, that's why I
sorry,
said we got to
I
get
forgot
Marion
you.
in on our outreach meeting because she brought 4 people just like that.
Yeah, and it sounds like great people.
Yeah,
Yeah, it does.
incredible
They're my
women.
sorority, so I invited them.
Oh,
Marion, is the young woman, Andrea, is she in school or is she beyond school?
Oh, yes, she's beyond.
She is,
works.
okay. She looks so young compared with the rest of us.
Yeah.
Speak for yourself.
Hey, Carolyn,
Hi, I'm Carol. Hi,
you're back.
Oh, hello.
thank you for being so patient with me. Holy mackerel. I knew there was going to be a problem about a week and a half ago where I commented to myself, gee, everything is falling right into place. All of the Zoom things are like not overlapping. I was like doing real good. The minute I said to myself, this is going to be okay, everything fell apart.
That's good. You have to come up to someone and break the jinx.
That's right. Thank you. You just did it. But honestly, this is one of the first times that I've ever logged on that my video was actually able to come up like this. So
All right.
usually I'm like green screen. I look like a Jason Pollock.
You know, Carolyn, I think this is the first time I'm actually seeing you.
Oh, hi, Bill.
You should come back to book club. She's in book club now.
Yes, I'm hoping to come next time.
Oh,
Good.
wonderful.
Yeah.
Of course, the next one is about the flu. So
I know. That's the only thing, and I haven't really gotten very far into the book either.
and I don't think I've ever met Marion. I've met Mary. I think I've met Karen on the education board. Is that right, Karen?
At book club.
Oh,
Book
at
club.
book club. Okay.
Mhm.
And Marion, I think this is my first time meeting you.
Yes.
Oh, Marion's been with us for a very long time, and she was on the board for several years, and I'm really glad that she's able to come to this today.
Oh,
Thank
thank you.
you.
Lovely to meet you, Marion.
Thank you.
And Dixie, I think I have seen her on a lot of the nationwide Zoom things, but this is my first time meeting her in this small little, so
Well, we have texted now, so.
there you go.
So,
All right, so thank you for welcoming me in, and I'm sorry to interrupt.
Not at all, not at all. We haven't really started yet, although we kind of had a meeting the other day just because we had started talking and it kept going. But I am sorry that Maureen is not here. I did reach out to her both by phone and email, and she didn't respond. She didn't come to the last one because she was going to her doctor. She was afraid she was having some kind of a bad reaction to the vaccine.
Okay.
So I don't know. I don't know what's happened. But anyway, well, listen.
Jill,
Thank you.
Jill, excuse me. There's a lot of echo somewhere. Can everybody mute except the person speaking?
Okay.
Good idea.
Hope it's okay. This is going to be kind of a free for all. We have some great resources here. Mary Chase and Susan Eserick, who will kind of just give us a little synopsis of their activities and what we've been doing on the advocacy side, the lobbying side of our work with the League. Just to bring you up to date on me, I've been a member, we've lived in Rhode Island for 11 years. I've been a member and on the board of the League for 10 years. Didn't take long. And I've been membership chair for about 10 years. And one of the reasons for this meeting is that I think I and the rest of us who have been involved with the board for a long time really need a refresh, and we are so eager for new ideas and new perspectives and people coming from different places and so forth. So this is very much about how we can achieve some meaningful outreach, especially in places where we are underrepresented, and especially in places where voter services are really needed, where registering people are really important and may not be done as effectively as we've been able to do other places, and that kind of thing. Just a couple of little bullets that I came up with. One, to keep in our minds as we move forward. The League of Women Voters is a nonpartisan organization in that we do not support candidates and we do not support parties. But we are a political organization nonetheless, because we do adopt policies, adopt positions on issues, and then we go up and actively lobby for them. And that's a huge part of our work. And it is what makes us, just in terms of legal terms, the League of Women Voters of Rhode Island is a 501c4 organization, which does not get a tax-exempt status because we do lobby. The other side of our organization, which is the Education Fund, and it's why it's kind of split into two, is a 501c3 because all it does is advance education and gives out grants and so forth. So that's kind of the basic structure of the organization. I think that for everybody here, and particularly anybody who's new, we are best known for our voter services, that we are actively involved and constantly involved in voter registration. Some of you may have heard of us initially because of the candidate forums that we moderate and that we run around the state, and we do an awful lot of that in election years. And the other kinds of voter service in terms of information, et cetera, that we put out on that. And that, to be honest, that is really what we are best known for. And it's been a wonderful service over 100 years or more, and it continues to be. So we think we're needed. We had an important year in 2020 in that it was the 100th anniversary of the 19th Amendment, and also the 100th anniversary of the League of Women Voters. And it was going to be a great in-person event, but couldn't happen. It was a Zoom event at Marble House. And that was because Alva Vanderbilt was such a big part of the suffrage movement. But the only other thing I'd like to say on that is that Rhode Island is one of the earliest leagues in the country and goes way, way back with very activist women. I mean, seriously, right back to the very origins of Rhode Island in terms of settling of English people here. and that's Ann Hutchinson. So we go back to the 1636 when she fetched up in the north of Portsmouth. And there had been local organizations, not called the League or anything, but local activist organizations dotted all over the state. We had, and maybe we will in the near future, planned on running a bus tour around the state of different places where some of the significant women who really were instrumental in getting the thing going here. Okay, on as I said before, we are always interested in doing outreach and getting people involved in places where we are not particularly well represented through our membership anyway. And that's why we are also just as eager to increase our membership, and especially in places where we are not particularly well represented. And that's not just to increase the numbers in a roster, although the more people who are members increases our voice, of course. But it's also about encouraging new energy and new ideas and leadership. And we are always, and Susan, you can be a loud echo for me on this. We are always looking to refresh our leadership. And, as I said, I've been membership chair for 10 years, and Susan has been head of advocacy for a very long time. And Mary, God bless her. That's all I can say about Mary. She's unbelievable. But new blood and new ideas and vibrant leadership that's really what will keep us going. So that's my piece. How about if I turn this over just for a very brief synopsis of what we are doing in terms of the positions we take and the lobbying that we do, to Mary, and to Mary, maybe you can just describe a little bit your particular women's health activities, and Susan just outlined the other areas that we're working on. And then we'll turn it over to Dixie, Dixie's work on the PPFM is a natural membership recruitment tool, aside from all the other things it does, especially the redistricting things. So Susan and Mary, why don't you take over now? Oh, I will mute myself.
Okay. I'll start since just because somebody has to. I don't know. I don't know how I know Karen sat in some of this before, so I'm not sure where Carolyn is on the what we're doing with advocacy. But ask questions if you want. Our big things this year, and it brings home what Jill was just saying about our need for representation in other districts. Just yesterday, we're talking about a postcard or email campaign to lobby our legislators on two things that are coming up that we really need to make an effort on. One on passing the new voting bill, which will enshrine easy mail ballot and easy early voting and get rid of the notary requirements and make it much easier for more people to vote. We don't have any representatives we don't have any league members in Greater Providence, as opposed to East Side mostly, and Pawtucket and Central Falls. And those are all places where the legislators, they're on committees that are important to us, and we need to be able to get to them. So that's one reason that we need more outreach in that area. And so the other one right now is civic education. We've got several really good bills to get civic education, grades 8 through 12 in the mandated. It's there, but it's not mandated, and there's no way to make sure the schools are doing it at this point. So that's our other big push right now. And we hope to have two 2-member campaigns to get them out there and writing their legislators very soon. And I'm looking for help if anybody wants to help. Karen and Carolyn and Marion, if you would like to help with that, we'd love to have you. Other things, other main thrusts this year are always open government and open records, but the gun bills, there are lots of gun bills this year, and we're hoping with the problems of the NRA that maybe we may get a little traction in the legislature. We have a lot more progressive people elected this year, which is very heartening, and young people who really want to stop this stuff. And so we're hoping that they'll get some traction with that this year. So Mary, you want to talk about women's health?
Susan, one thing before Mary, did anyone see the piece that was put out by the local Catch today, the PBS? It was the Democratic Party has hired a really high-level lobbyist. She has been a lobbyist, but a person to really refresh the entire Democratic Party in Rhode Island. It's quite interesting. As they say, and I quote, as the party is intentionally moving left. So it's a piece worth watching. This woman looks fabulous.
Where is this, Jill?
In Rhode Island.
No,
the Rhode Island Democratic Party.
Radio.
Oh, it's in a thing called the Daily Catch, which is a NPR broadcast.
Oh, okay.
They also put out their pieces on their talks as emails too. So just look up the Daily Catch.
Okay.
Anyway, I just thought I'd interject that.
I don't know if it's the same woman. I had watched somebody present at URI. It was for the Women's Forum. It sounds like it's the same person. She is interested in promoting women candidates, and she offered her help for free to help people as the Democrat Party, to make it stronger or whatever. But the main purpose, I guess, because at URI it was through the women, their women's group or whatever they have down there. But it sounds like she's the same person. I don't know if
Her name is Coyne. The last name's Coyne.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Actually, if you want to go on URI's website then, and because they archived that meeting and that talk, she's really fabulous, and she gives you all her contact information and how to go about, doing all this stuff. So,
well, she's been hired by the party.
Okay, yeah.
So anyway, a little diversion, sorry.
Oh, that sounds very interesting. Well, after a couple of years ago when we were so active with the Reproductive Privacy Act, which we got passed, and some of you came down and lobbied and so forth. Marion was down there one time, I think several others of you. Things are a lot, sort of a much lower key, but equally as important. And this year, some of the bills that we're working on is to pass appropriate recompense for doulas, Fair Employment Act, Essential Health Services, which is essentially codifying 10 essential services that were in the ACA, the Obamacare program, confidentiality in health, single payer system, and equality in abortion. And then there are a couple of bills that are always introduced, Born Alive Protection Act, unborn children, life begins at conception and so forth and so on. And some of those are introduced, but I don't think they will go anywhere. But we have a really good chance for the doulas to pass this year. In any event, it's quite interesting. We need help in writing various and sundry representatives and senators. from time to time, although it's so different this year with the COVID that we can't get together. And so everything's a lot different, and and things are happening very quickly. Bills are still being introduced, whereas the deadline was a month ago. And but always need help with lobbying for women's health and fair pay, the fair services. So that's essentially.
Thanks. That's great, Mary. Mary, thank you. Where is Dixie? I don't see her.
Here.
There she is. Okay.
What would you, well, first of all, Jill, did you want me to focus on the PPFM or on like some of the ideas I had?
Both.
Both. Okay. So, well, PPFM is getting up and running. I actually spoke to Dan Kittredge, who is the author, the editor of the Cranston Herald. I spoke to him today, and he is working on an upcoming piece with the Let Rhode Island Vote campaign, and he's going to work us into it so we can potentially our civic education and voter access advocacy as well, but he'll mention the PPFM campaign, so that's really exciting. One of the things that why I wanted to invite Mary, and she brought along her sorority sisters, and so I think they would be incredible assets to the league. If we can get that, if we can recruit them, they'd be wonderful. I especially the sorority thing really had me thinking about, how can we further reach university students? And a couple of weeks ago, I had a Zoom chat with Mia Broom, and she is at Roger Williams University at the CPC, the Center for Community Partnership Center. And she said they have an internship program that is completely free to all the anyone who applies, and we can basically ask for whatever we want or need. There's no limit to applications we can submit. We could, if we wanted a student to help us revitalize the website design, or someone to work on social media strategy, something like that. So they have students who from any any discipline that you can really think of. Political science, if you want someone to help with drafting legislation, we can apply for student interns for that. It's completely free to us, and a lot of the work is I won't say it's all done for us, but we certainly get a lot of hand holding if we want it from the professors, and then the students of course get the hands-on experience that they can put on their resume. And I was thinking, I've mentioned in the board meeting, we should sponsor some student memberships. They're only $25. Send out an email to our membership and say, would anyone like to sponsor these and pay for these student memberships? And then we could offer those yearly memberships to student groups, to the sororities and fraternities if we wanted to. I mean, I know we're not strictly women, to the Young Democrats, Young Republicans, and things like that. That's something I thought about, because even I wasn't a student that long ago, and $25, that if you spend it right, that can be a week's worth of groceries depending on what you buy. So that can be a lot for a student, especially with COVID right now. Things are very expensive. People aren't necessarily working, and they're still paying for school at the same price that they were if they were going in person. So it's not like they're getting any savings. So I think even that sponsorship for that would be really great to do. And we could certainly, since I've built this established this relationship now with Dan, the editor, he, I think, would be a really good resource. Maybe we could women, I kind of had the idea this morning as I was kind of puttering around with, it's International Women's Month coming to an end in, just a few days. But maybe it would be nice for them to do a league spotlight, since we've been around for so long and are a pretty integral women's organization in Rhode Island. So maybe that's something that they run, probably not this month, I'm assuming, but at some point.
Dixie, what is his paper?
He is the editor for the Cranston Herald. This is Dan.
Oh, okay.
It's KITTREDGE. And he very responsive, super nice guy. And seemed really, really open to anything we want to throw at him as far as ideas go. So
Good.
yeah, I think he'll be a good resource and can connect us with the other local, because the Herald is owned by Beacon, which also owns the Johnston paper, a couple others. I think they have like a podcast. They have other things. So there's any number of connections we can make with them if we want to, because I think a big part of outreach is just getting out there and that visibility. So we should exploit that. That's what I got.
That's great. That's wonderful news about the interns. I'm sure we can use them. So Jill, you were telling us that Carolyn's got a whole bunch of good ideas too.
I think so.
I guess.
But before we go to Carolyn, Dixie, do you want to talk about the PPFM and in terms of membership and the opportunities that the PPFM and the outreach that does in terms of redistricting and everything?
I mean,
yeah.
Well, sure. I mean, it's something that is creating a lot of ties to community organizations. And Marion, I know you had mentioned work with the NAACP. That's I think a really valuable organization that could be a good partner for our PPFM, especially the Day of Action, which is going to be our big one. But we can do any number of events that we want. We can do redistricting 101s. We can do Q&A sessions. We can do training sessions if people would like to learn to draw their own community map. So I think PPFM is a really good, it's a very good partner with our civic education and our voter education advocacy, because those all tie in together. And I know for me, when I was in high school, I don't think I would have been able to tell you what gerrymandering is. Kids maybe now, because they have, we have the internet in our pockets, but I don't know. I think it ties in really nicely, and it's not over anybody's head. It's something that a middle schooler could understand if we could, even work in a little bit of that into the curriculum. I think that the PPFM is particularly valuable because with that campaign, we have access to tons of resources from national. So that's certainly something we can offer to community partners, and we can be a really valuable guide, and we just need to know what they need. And that's something that I'm having difficulty. You can't just guess, and you don't want to overwhelm someone and say, we've got such and such and such, and that might not, you can't. I don't want to come to someone and say, well, I can teach you how to draw your own maps, but maybe they don't have a laptop or a desktop computer at home. Maybe they just use their phone for everything, because a lot of people do nowadays. So maybe that's not a good one for them. So that's, I think, where this outreach and community partnerships is really going to be valuable for us, especially for PPFM, so that people can, we can give the people tools to lead themselves and meet them where they are,
First of all, what is the we that you're talking about? How many booths on the PPFM actually have, and what are you currently actually doing, and what is planned for now?
Right now, so PPFM is actually spearheaded by our National League, and I believe there's every single state participating. I was there at a house for like the kickoff last year. And so I'm still not understanding like what everybody is actually doing right now. Oh, well, that I can actually, I don't know if it's live yet, but they are working on a Day of Action splash page, they called it, where, and this is the national site.
And who is the they?
The
That's what I'm
National League. Yeah, the National League is really spearheading it, and they'll have that splash page, which basically you will be able to go in and look at different states and see what what events they're putting on. Some states, the bigger states that have, 100, Georgia probably has 100 leagues, local leagues, within them.
And so what is what is our state doing?
We're doing a joint event. So if South County or East Bay wanted to put on a Day of Action event, we could do that as well. I figured my thoughts on that were, as small as Rhode Island is, I didn't want to dilute our Day of Action presence by spreading it by league. But for somewhere like Georgia or, California, where they've got a million leagues, different local ones, they probably are doing their own thing per city or whatever. But yeah, so far that's the major thing, the Day of Action. But we're also we do need to put on.
Is that April 29th? That's what we're shooting for?
Yeah.
Okay.
And right now we're doing a panel discussion. So
And where would
that
that'll
would.
Zoom?
Oh, sorry, Carolyn. What was that?
That will be a Zoom panel?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yep, it'll be a Zoom panel, and we'll have some expert voices from who can speak to different aspects of the redistricting process, whether it's from the legislative side. We've got a representative who's going to speak. I'm assuming, I say it's tentative, John Marion from Common Cause. He's I've asked him to be our speaker probably 3 times, but he's been very busy. It would not be an understatement to say his plate is a little overflowing right now. So I don't have a firm yes from him.
But he was the one that actually kind of kicked off, because I listened to the Zoom, and he had 3 people that gave their point of view.
Yes.
Type thing. Okay.
Yes. And he's been doing redistricting reform personally himself for 12 years. So he was there for the last cycle. He can he'll be a very good voice, and he's got a background in writing legislation, so he can speak to that aspect. Any bill that you see that gets sponsored in Rhode Island that has to do with redistricting, I guarantee you he has helped write it.
And there are 2 now that he's got up.
Yeah, you can put money on it. He had a hand in writing it if it's anything to do with redistricting. So we've got him, and we recently, Marion brought her sorority sister Rochelle Lee, and she has agreed to speak, and she's got a background. I'm very excited for her to join. She's got a background in affordable housing, city planning, so she can speak to the municipality side, and with her background in affordable housing and working on she's on the Housing Authority Board, she can really speak to how that's affecting all the different neighborhoods in Providence, and how those communities are getting drawn out. She can speak to that side. So I'm really excited. The panel seemed to be the general consensus of what people were interested in, and what we thought would get the biggest draw. And so I think the panel also, because we can feature such a diverse range of guests to speak, hopefully they'll each bring in their own communities and crowds and organizations, so we'll get really good attendance, and that should be great to hopefully get the league out there as well.
So did you actually who put together the panel? Was it you?
That's me.
That's you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And so I still have a couple people. I got a couple really good leads from Dan this morning. He he gave me someone from where's my notebook, from the Providence, from I'm going to reach out to Nick Lima. He's the city selections director and is on the board of canvassers for Cranston, and he has been very, very instrumental in the Cranston redistricting. So
That's interesting.
I'm interested in getting him, because he can speak to it on I want to talk to him first, but the idea that kind of piqued my interest on him, because he'd be able to speak to redistricting on a smaller level, which I think is really important in the education aspect, because people are going to be more interested, I would think, in how how redistricting is going to affect them at their, you know, at the smallest level. So that's Susan. Did you have something on that one?
Yeah, well, it's another thing that's going on is trying to get under Mattiello, all the prisoners who were at the ACI, or it's right in the middle
Yeah.
of Cranston, are
Yeah.
being counted as members of Cranston, and so there's legislation up to get them counted where they came from, which would make a huge difference
Yeah. And Nick,
to the warders of the various districts. So
Nick will be able
that's
to.
very interesting. If he speaks, that'll be good.
Mhm.
So what do you want from us? Do you want us to find groups that will sponsor this and promote it to
Yeah.
their
Sure.
membership?
Yeah, I haven't, so I've got another meeting. I sent out the recording yesterday. You may have seen there's a link there to get the next meeting set up in 2 weeks, because that's when I want to finalize I will by then have our final answers on the panel, who's going to be there officially, because we have 3 so far, but we're going to do an hour, but so I don't want to dilute too far. And that was something, Susan, you had mentioned to me before. We want to make sure people have adequate time. But if we do maybe 4, I don't know. I need to really get the answers from people.
Well,
Yeah.
also you have the moderator introducing people, and that'll
Right.
take time too. And
Yeah.
you want Q&A time, and
Right. So I was thinking to maybe give each panelist about 5 minutes to do their own pitch, and then we could open up for Q&A. And maybe this is something I was thinking about when I asked Jason Knight, Representative Jason Knight, to join. I asked him, you know, what can we do to help you prepare for this? And I think us having the league draft some questions to prepare for them and give them in advance, so that they can maybe you know, speak to that. And we would open up questions to the community. I would like to, but I think it would be really helpful for them to have a few questions, and we can start the questioning, because I feel like whenever you open something up, there's tends to be crickets in the beginning. So if we can jump right in and someone can
You know, when we do candidate forums, I think this is how it has gone, at least in Newport County. They get 5 minutes as an opening, or sometimes less, but 5 minutes. And then there are a couple of questions, open-ended questions, and they get like a minute and a half to answer. And then at the end, there are some yes and no questions, but this is candidates, so that's a little different. But
I think that would be good too, though, because I had thought about 10 minutes each, and then I thought
too long.
is a really long time.
Yeah, too long.
Really long time. And you know, this is something, I think it should be more about the Q&A than about their,
Right.
It's not a conference, you know? So, and if we get any big interest, or anyone expresses like, I'd like to get more in depth on this, we can certainly do follow-up events. This is really just, the National League is really treating it like a kickoff, even though we've been doing PPFM. This is year 2. It's a 3-year initiative. This is a really big media blitz kickoff to get a lot of awareness. That's why they're doing it. Everybody's doing theirs on April 29th. It's going to be nationwide. They're going to be, you'll see it all over, hopefully all over Twitter and you know, different places. And so that's the one I'm really like excited about right now. But we technically the PPFM, our part of it ends in May, at the end of May, but it's going to keep going, you know, and I plan on still putting together events and things like that if I can.
So will you be recording it so that it will be available later on?
Absolutely.
So that's something that we can promote.
Yeah. We'll put that on our YouTube channel, I think, eventually. I think that would be a really good one.
And when do you think you would be available? Like, say we can get, people can get reporters or whatever to come and interview you and maybe get you on the radio and stuff like that. Like, do you know about when you would like to be more visible?
Yeah, I would say probably starting in 3 weeks, because 2 weeks from now we'll have that follow-up planning meeting, which absolutely, Carolyn, please join. It sounds like you've got some really good interest, and would be a really good asset to getting that word out. And but yeah, so I think in about 3 weeks, because then we'll have things a little more concrete. I had some trouble getting people interested too far in advance. So that's why it's really picking up right now. And next week I'm going to really be pestering for those final.
Well, it's a lot easier. You just give them a job to do when you can
Right.
actually say, can you please do this? And people will.
Yeah, and that's something Jason told me, and I think this applies to anything that we are going to do with sponsors, co-sponsors, partnerships, because, and I learned that pretty early, because I'd get on phone calls with people and they'd be like, okay, what do you want? I'm like, I don't know, what do you want? So, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm just trying, and that's half the battle. But giving Jason, that was something he said, he mentioned he's a public prosecutor, and so he's got a very full-time day job. He's in addition to all the committees he chairs, and he's the deputy majority leader. So he's got a lot on his plate. If we can give him, here's what I'd like you to talk about, that is going to be so much easier, I think. So I think that's something that it's a good lesson to learn.
And you had made a comment before about like having it, instead of it being compartmentalized into all the different areas in Rhode Island. What I found in my experience is that, when you do that, it ends up, the East Bay versus the West Bay and the South County. And if we could just make this a big Rhode Island push, because we are all in this together. And then, I used to do this not-for-profit. I started, it was Rhode Island Advocates for Gifted Ed. And it amazed me that this little state has 36, 37 individual school districts. And so what I used to do is every single month, I ran my meetings in a different community. And it opens your eyes up to places I never went to in Rhode Island before. There are these remote places, and also too the cities like Pawtucket and Central Falls, Providence, that are just, they're so dense, and they get kind of put into just one big package.
They're not. That's where those communities of interest come in, and that's, I think, why it's so essential to have those community partners to represent themselves, because that's part of the trouble, when the fact that we have an independent consultant mapping this. He's probably not even from Rhode Island.
Right.
He's not going to know, and he's also not going to care. He's going to use that census data, and
Right.
It doesn't matter that we know that it's going to be incomplete because of, because we had a president who scared, fear-mongering and scared people into probably not saying they live here because they're afraid they're going to get locked up by ICE.
Right.
But that's not going to matter to him. What's going to matter is the data he can put in for his algorithm that's going to draw the maps.
Right. And so, Marion, are you involved very much in Providence, Greater Providence area?
You're muted, Marion.
Should be the little microphone. There we go.
There you go.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Yes, I'm involved with, I try not to be too involved now because there's so much, but I'm involved with the NAACP, and I don't hold in any offices or anything like that anymore. Yeah, I just go to meetings and do whatever needs to be done from some things. Yeah.
And Dixie, and also I'm going to be including you, Marion. Dixie, as far as the publicity and the television, was that all through Dan to begin with, or Dave? What was
To begin with, I haven't reached out to any TV stations or anything like that. honestly, I don't know what I'm doing when it comes to that. So any advice from you guys or help from that would be wonderful. All I know how to do is, and I'm perfect. You can give me a phone number and send me at someone. I'd make a great salesman. I'm good at cold calling, but it helps if you've already got a relationship with someone and you've done it for another campaign. That would be really helpful.
If
That
you
I'm
could-
really doing, I'm winging it.
If you can record this thing, this day of action thing, maybe we can later put it on a TV station like the public access one.
Yeah, that would be
Yeah.
great.
And then a question that was sort of relating to this, and that's going to you, Marion, because I've been over the past 2 years starting to keep a file for outreach for diversity purposes, and so I have newspaper clippings all over the place. But one of the people that caught my attention from East Providence was Teresa Moore, and who was named to the Rhode Island Foundation Board. And I was wondering if, and she is president of Tea Time Productions. She's also teaches at Providence College and has a master's of urban education, and is obviously a very busy person, whom I wondered if she was a relative of Joan Moore. And I was wondering if you knew Joan Moore, I think we used to have an East Providence League, and I think Joan Moore was president, but last January 6th, a year ago, when the Providence League had its program downtown, Joan was there, and she had a couple of daughters with her. And so anyway, I was just wondering if by any chance, if you knew Joan or her daughters or anything about this.
If I know them?
Yes.
Oh, yes, I know Joan.
Okay. Well, I know that she was in some sorority at one point.
She's in the Delta sorority, yes.
Same one then. Okay.
Mhm.
So do you have any idea whether this Teresa Moore is any connection to her?
Yeah. You have her daughter? I don't know her daughters that well, but I know of them.
Yeah. So
But what do you want with Teresa?
well, I was just impressed with her, and I was thinking of reaching out with, I think initially, I was maybe thinking with the forums last year or something, and I just got her name, or reaching out into the community and, finding people we could connect with. And
Yeah,
and
I don't know what Teresa's doing now, but I think her daughters were away, but I think one is back now, maybe two, I don't know. But she, I don't know what her schedule is or what she does. So I don't know whether she would be able to outreach, because I don't know what kind of work she does.
Sure. Well, that was just one name that came across. I have some list of other people, but most of whom are in East Providence. But I was just thinking you might know Joan, and I know Joan was in a wheelchair.
Mm-hmm.
Dixie, where is Dixie? I've lost her. Anyway, Dixie, you might want to reach out to Jane Coster, who has been, in her role as president of the league. She's been very wired into news, the media and news, and has done interviews and stuff. She might have some good contacts with NPR or some of the stations, Scott McKay, those people,
Yeah, I can do that. Oh, maybe we can be on Political Roundtable.
Yeah. No kidding.
Jane knows Ian Donis very well, I know.
She knows Ian Donis, right? Yeah.
So yeah, I'll do that. I think I'll probably wait a couple of weeks until
Fine.
that, because I know Jonah's so busy. I don't want to throw incomplete information at her. But yeah, that's a really good idea. That would, man, oh my gosh, I need to learn how to put makeup on again properly. Be on TV.
Getting dressed up means putting earrings on.
Exactly.
I'm like, I have a gold pair and I just leave them in and never take them out. So then you're just,
I wanted to make a suggestion that maybe you had mentioned at one point working with Roger Williams University and the students. It might be a good idea to send our day of action to all of the deans in the schools of the graduate schools. Just send them, a blanket notice and ask if they could distribute among their students or whatever.
yeah,
Yep.
I think that'd be great.
And we have June Speakman, who is a rep now, but she's also a member of the league, and she's a professor of political science at Roger Williams as well. She's friendly with us.
I wonder if if we could incentivize students, if we had any teachers, we could say, would you maybe consider giving your students an extra credit assignment? Like if they watch the day of action and then they can write an essay of, of one page or something on it, because then I know when I was a student, if there wasn't something in it for me, I needed a little push because I was already busy enough. I was like, I had enough on my plate, but I did love extra credit. So that could be maybe she'd be able to offer her students that.
And back in the day, it was around 2000 to about 2004 through this organization that I had started, that we were actively trying to get civic education as well as gifted education mandated in the school system. And of course, after 4 years of trying, it didn't go very far. I was able to, effectively get, instead of, because I was unsuccessful in getting it mandated in the curriculum, I was able to, they let me do before and after school enrichment classes. And through that, I was able to run programs like, a mock trial and all this kind of stuff, and through free programs through the government agencies that you could teach to kids and have them more aware of civics. But it was remarkable to me that they refused to have that be part of the curriculum. It was the biggest challenge and very frustrating. So in a way, I mean, sometimes, how they always say, like, somebody has to die before something gets done. Our political system is in such a shambles right now. It has to be like that for them to know that now we need to teach our young people civics education. I mean, it makes common sense to do it, but
It's this younger generation, and I'm a millennial, but I know even Gen Z, they're getting really active. And so I think there's definitely an eagerness out there. They've got TikTok and Instagram and Snapchat and stuff like that. And there's certainly, I think they're wired in, and if we can, but one of the things I've been thinking about is, if you don't know what to get, if you don't know what's going on, you won't be able to get interested or upset about it, and I think anger is a really good motivator to get people involved, because that's what had me join the league. I was fed up. But if you're not listening, or if you're not, actively looking into that stuff for yourself, or having it provided to you as the curriculum, you may not even know it exists. So if you don't, what I mean? It's like, you can't be mad about redistricting if you don't know what redistricting is, or that it's a thing at all. So I think that's goes to show you the civics education that they really have to push for that.
Well, we are headed, I had promised an hour's meeting.
Okay.
We're almost there. So if we could just develop maybe a couple of simple next steps. One thing I can think of is that we ought to reach out to the local leagues, especially about this, the day of action, and get them to, I mean, the Newport County League has a number of good alliances with other organizations. And so that's one concrete thing that local leagues can do. And also publicity, but But I'd be interested in hearing your ideas on what should be our next steps as a group.
I mean, I don't know. I'm
Yeah.
working on it.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
Well, your effort is a really good way to focus for us, I think. And it's really concrete, and and certainly in terms of outreach and membership, it's a wonderful vehicle, I think. Agree, everybody?
What was that? I didn't hear what it was that was this vehicle.
Oh, the Dixie's PPFM.
Oh, yes, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Carolyn, did you have some ideas in
Well,
general, not regarding PPFM?
Well,
Yeah.
I mean, I was writing down the whole list as you guys were going down. I mean, for each one of the things that you mentioned, there's definitely, bulleted action things that we can do and focus on. It just seems like it's always the same people. I'm not exactly sure the general we is it really just you and I, or do we really have more people that are helping us? I don't know. So that's the thing, because in all actuality, like I know I'm a nurse by profession, and I'm very interested in helping make sure that the doulas get mandated or whatever, passed, whatever the bill is. And to me, the league it's a little overwhelming because there's so much things that I need to, like they say, oh yeah, just go to the website and read this on it. And to me, it's just overwhelming. It seems like a lot of legalese to me in order to figure out what to do for one little certain thing. Like I just did the, how to, we needed to update the bylaws for the education fund. And it took me like 6 hours of researching online through the league's website, all the little things that they have, that you could possibly do. And I don't know if it's just because I'm more detailed oriented and I can't just go from general to specific or what, but there are a load of things. I just think I guess like Jill had said, let's pick the one thing that we want to focus on for right now, have an action plan, and a specific one though, so that we can leave here and actually know what we're going to do and who we're going to call next.
What about the internships that you mentioned, bylaws? And that was actually one of the specific things that Mia mentioned. We could ask for an internship for someone to help us draft and revise the bylaws, like a law student or political science. That's certainly, and I think that
the bylaws of the league.
She mentioned we could ask for, because they have a lot of nonprofits apply for things, and that's one of the big asks. Maybe
Dixie, that kind of thing can be proposed to the board, but the board will need to make a decision on that.
Absolutely, yeah.
I'll go ahead and I'll volunteer. I'll talk to Mia again about the internships, and I'll put together a 5-minute little pitch for those for the board, and then we can vote on whether we'd like to pursue applying.
I think what we need to do is the board needs to have a meeting which identifies the needs.
Right.
And then we can go from there.
Okay.
And go back. I think it's wonderful, and I'm sure that we can find good use for a number of people, but I think it needs to be done so that it's coming from what our needs are, not, oh, we got this resource, let's find everything they can do.
Yeah.
Well, for example, we are in very serious need of people to help with communications and publicity. We used to have we used to publish a quarterly newsletter for the membership, and we haven't been able to do that for, I don't know, 2 years, because we haven't had somebody to take that over. The person who was left the state, and that's a big job.
It's a technical issue too. We need technical expertise for that.
Oh, so much. Yes, right.
I would love to have somebody develop a form like they have on all these action sites where you send this message to all your legislators, and here's the thing, and poke that button, and off it goes.
We could.
That's something that would be wonderful.
I think that would be a pretty easy ask for a computer science student who's interested in politics. So we should start thinking it. I guess I'll ask at the board meeting for people to put together a wish list.
Mhm.
Oh,
That would be great. Actually, this group now could start thinking of outreach, whoever they can outreach to, what groups they know of, to publicize the PPFM
Okay,
Okay.
and also the league.
okay.
So, and Dixie, you got all those people that came to your meeting, and they have groups too that we don't normally get together with. Be nice to know somebody in Central Falls that
oh.
could outreach to that group up there.
I know someone who lives in Central Falls, but I can't get her into it.
Yeah.
Well, and
I've been trying to, light a fire under her, and she won't budge so far.
I might be able to get in touch with Viola Davis's sister.
Oh, good, good.
Wow. Where does she
Forget
live?
it.
She lives in
Central
Central Falls,
Falls.
Susan. Yeah.
I'm sorry, Marion.
I said, I'm sure you won't get her.
Oh, really?
She lives
No.
in Central Falls. Yeah, yeah.
If you don't ask, you
No, that's
definitely
true.
won't get her.
That's true.
That's
Yeah.
the only certainty if you don't ask.
Another thing that would be great. We used to have a relationship with the Y in Woonsocket. There's
YW, yeah.
the YW up there. There
YW.
was a great gal up there.
YWCA.
Do you remember
Yeah.
the name of that gal, Marion or Jill?
I don't. Couple people
I
met
get
her.
some information from them sometimes. I get the news that I haven't heard from them in a long time. Maybe it's because of the COVID, but yeah, I was with the YWCA, and so I know we worked with the league. We worked with a lot of agencies in the community. So
You know what we
may
should
try.
do is have like a map of the state and have how, where we would need league members, where we have league members, where we don't have league members. And
Well,
then
I can tell you, we need Pawtucket and Central Falls and Points North. We
yeah,
don't have anybody north
Yeah.
of Providence.
right.
We need Woonsocket, we need Johnston, we need Situate, we need all those places. Cumberland, Coventry.
The whole northwest part of the state.
Yeah,
we don't have
yeah.
anybody.
So it seems like, this is what helped me with my not-for-profit. It was using the library system, like targeting libraries, and because that's where, most people feel an affinity for. First of all, it's very community oriented, and it will give us a way to, in fact, the Weaver Library was so wonderful with helping us get out the vote. I mean, they put in so much effort for us. And so maybe that would be something for us to do, is ask them for help with this day of action. And
That's a very good idea. That really is.
Certainly put it on their events on their events.
Yeah,
calendars.
yeah. And they could facilitate the connection.
yeah.
Karen, do you have any ideas from your experience elsewhere?
I'm thinking that you name all these places. If we don't have any contacts, that we have to try to find some contacts there and sort of research and ask what are people interested in these
Yes.
areas. What you need to think about in some of these areas. Now I know people, but I won't be able to get them involved. But I don't know if they don't live in Pawtucket or Central Falls. But I'm thinking that you have a lot of immigrants in some of these areas. I know my friend is a teacher and she works in Central Falls, and it's very difficult. She's having
Yes.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I know we've tried to. I've been in organizations where we've gotten some Hispanic people involved, but they don't stay very long. It's a problem with who the communities are now.
Yeah, it is. We did have a beginning of a relationship before COVID with Progreso Latino over there. They wanted us to come over and do some forums, and then the gal that I was working with got another job someplace else, and
Yeah,
COVID
yeah.
came along and nobody could
Yeah.
meet with anybody, and it was we might try again to reach to Progreso Latino.
Yeah, the woman from Roger Williams, she actually, and I just emailed them back. She introduced me to Marcella. Let's see, Marcella Batanker from. She is the director of the Latino Policy Institute that operates out of Roger Williams's Providence campus. So I've emailed her about PPFM, but she could be a good resource for the community as well. So I'm hoping to. I asked her for a meeting. I haven't heard back, but this is just an email.
That would be great because I bet she knows people in that area.
So Dixie, do we have like something that we could use as a publicity form or something that we could send? Like I'm thinking I could, I had something to send, I could send it out to all the libraries. I have a bunch of friends that have librarians.
Okay. I can put together a save the date.
Yes, do that. And then we could do all the libraries and all of the YMCAs.
The YMCAs?
Mm-hmm.
And
YWCA?
The one YWCA and all the, all the YMCA.
I think we should do them all.
Okay.
Well, there's the Greater Providence, maybe it's Greater Rhode Island YMCA.
Mhm,
It's under one umbrella, but then there's separate Ys in different places.
mhm.
But I'm sure that they communicate. They must have a
Yes.
structure.
I'll get to,
Dixie, do you have something beyond people powered Paramounts that explains why, a simple explanation written up about why redistricting is important and something that talks about the factors like equal representation in communities of interest and geographic boundaries? And
yes,
know-
they have a blog series.
you have a one-page something or other that people could send along with the announcement of the save the
Yeah,
date.
there's stuff like that in the redistricting toolkit that we have from the PPFM, and it is gonna have PPFM stuff on it, but they've got one pagers and things like that. There's also, if you want something a little more in depth than a one pager, they've got a new blog series that is coming out every week, and we're on week 4 now. I'm gonna post the 4th one on our Twitter today. But they're really, really interesting.
You might want to send that to each of us who's going to be trying to reach out to groups
Okay.
we know, because I don't think a lot of people know what it really means.
Yeah,
What redistricting
we've got
really
that
means.
redistricting
And we
101.
want to speak with sort of one voice too. I mean, we
Right.
want to be honing in on the same things. It's like when you're asking people to write legislation, you send them a page of talking.
Right.
points. It's
Yeah.
Right.
really succinct.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll do that. If I don't get it out today, then I'll probably look for that Monday or Tuesday. Because
Okay.
I'll make the graphic that we can have a very easy, like little, just a little save the date. It's not gonna have full details yet, but
And then if you could send that out and give us the date you want it sent out, like when
Mhm.
you'll be ready
Okay.
in order for people to get in touch with you. And yeah, that would be great.
I know that there are neighborhood organizations. Susan knows a little bit about this in East Providence. When we can get on that, they are in neighborhood.
Yeah, next door Narragansett, and then there's the one.
Yes.
Yeah,
And if we
I can't remember what they call them anymore. There used to be a word for that. But there are a number in East Providence for sure.
if we can get,
And there's Riverside Renaissance. We could reach to them.
yes, I'd be happy to do that.
And the porch, I wish we could. Mary, do you still have any? Well, I wish Maureen were here because she's got all this. We've got to get Maureen. Dixie, you got to call Maureen. Call Maureen and get her.
I've
her up to
never
speed on
met
this.
Maureen for years, since I've been meaning, I've seen her name all over the place, but I have never met her.
I've still never met her either, and she's
Oh, okay.
No, I haven't met her either.
Oh, I met her on Zoom, but that's,
everybody
No, I
talks
haven't-
to her,
I haven't
she's
even
fabulous,
seen it.
but
Yeah. Yeah, I'm sorry that she didn't come today. I don't know what happened to her.
well, I hope she's okay because it sounds
Yeah.
like she might have had a bad COVID reaction.
Yeah, I know something about that.
Last week I was pulling my car off of a curb.
Mm.
Oh,
Oh, yeah. I was down in New York and I got my bumper stuck on a curb and
Oh,
Oh, no. Oh,
How'd you
no.
manage that?
5 minutes before the meeting and I backed up the whole thing. There were things that were flying off my car. It's like, I can't believe this.
Oh, jeez.
So I apologize. But things do, it's Murphy's Law, right?
yes.
Yeah, I know.
Well, thank you for hosting this. I think we have at least some direction. Dixie, you're amazing.
Yeah, you are.
You really are, Dixie. This is phenomenal. I would be totally overwhelmed with 1/100th of what you've done.
It is a little overwhelming, and I'm trying to remind myself nobody expects everything right away.
Exactly.
I have the type of personality. I've literally had a boss tell me before, slow down. This is not a microwave world. You cannot hit a button and have it in a minute. And I try to remind myself, it's okay if you don't get back to an email same day. You can get it, you know what I mean? You may not, it's okay, chill.
It's fine. It's just fine. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right. We'll try to digest this and we'll wait to hear from you, Dixie, about,
Yeah.
you know,
It'll probably be next week. I take
Okay.
back what I said about getting it out today. I'm gonna give myself a little breather.
please. Yeah.
That way I
There's a
can
week-
give you guys better information and more thorough rather than just throwing it together.
Thank you.
okay.
Okay.
Thanks.
Okay,
Bye,
All
everybody.
right, everybody. Thanks so much. Good to see you, Marion. It's been a
You
long
too.
time.
You Jill.
Bye. Bye, Carolyn. Bye, Mary.
Jill.
Bye, Karen.